Peace to the party people out there. Just came on to see if y'all ready. Came on to see if y'all ready for our little journey that we gotta take. You know what's going on. It was apparently it's raining. Chirac King Black. Look, I see you was ready. Look, you got your bags packed. I was just having a little snack. You know how you don't like to travel on an empty stomach. Bobby Joe Billy. You got your bags packed, look. Suddenly if you hear me? Yeah, but suddenly if I disappear suddenly, then you how do we get this up here? Yeah, we want to see the whole screen. I mean, I don't know what's going on. We're supposed to be able to view this from quite a few different quite a few different sources, but apparently because it's raining, uh it's we're not at full capacity. What's going on here with yeah, we're not at full capacity to be we're not at full capacity to be observing this. But yeah, what's going on? What's going on with y'all brothers? Y'all just checking in real quick? Or y'all got your bags packed, ready to see what is in store for us on the mothership. This is not very, I thought we was gonna see a little more detailed view than this. But a lot of what I seen when I as I was looking for the various right, it's overcast. That's what I'm saying. So right now, a lot of the live feeds, like a couple of them was actually canceled. It's supposed to be, I guess they filming it or whatever, and it's supposed to come on like later on tonight. You know what I'm saying? But see, the thing with that is that's going to be too late because by then we would have already we would have already we already going to look. You either going to be on the ship or you're going to the high powered bombs is going to have taken the effect on you by then. Don Bishop, I had a question I wanted to ask you. I can't recall what it was, but I know it was said in the Bible. I know at least one thing I wanted to ask you, right? Being that being that this is the last minutes and seconds, we might as well figure out some of the biblical mysteries there. The bar was the science. Yeah, we all up here waiting right now. We seeing if Fire and Elijah is going to beam us up. I was just telling the brothers if I disappear quickly, then the brothers have come to get me. But yeah, I meant to ask you though. Uh, Now in the I was hearing somebody say the other day, right, that I think in the Old Testament that is 613 laws given to the Hebrews, right? But what I wanted to know is how many laws was given to Adam. Boy, I mean, I guess technically we not disappearing. You know what I'm saying? We're being beamed up. We're being beamed up to the ship in the transporter room. You know what I'm saying? But to the naked eye, it's going to seem like we disappeared. Brother Jabbar X is he just sent me a message. You know, that's a whole other story. Right now, let's stick to this. Let's stick to this right here, man. I don't know this. Maybe in a few minutes we'll check. Right, how many laws was given to Adam? I got a direction that I'm going, but I need to that's a part of me drawing it up. But yeah, maybe in a minute, you know what I'm saying, we'll switch to maybe they'll have some news coverage. Like in a minute, the morning news is gonna come on. So probably in the news coverage, they at least give us some information because, like I said, with this live feed right here, you just see this light right here. You know, you see it moving a little bit, but you don't even see other stars or nothing for like reference or something. Right. Now look, both of y'all said the same thing that I only heard, right? I only heard that his one rule was don't eat of the fruit, right? From the fruit of the forbidden tree, right? Because there's nothing else is going on. Everything is being provided for you. Is eating of that fruit. So now this is what I'm saying, right? Because a lot of times you hear people that deal with the religion in general, But when we talking about, especially with Christianity, they say that the morals that people live by come from religion. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, namely when you're dealing with Christians, it's the Bible. So I'm saying, right, how come Abel, right, or Cain had to be told that he was wrong for killing Abel? Like why when they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? Why they didn't get the Ten Commandments right then? Like this is the new rules right here. You understand what I'm saying? These rules appear to come in slowly over time as a result of people living amongst each other. And I'm saying that's my idea of where morals come from anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like when people say, well, how do you get your morals? We get our morals from living amongst people. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna have people that you grow up with from a baby and you attach to these people. And when you see the things that they go through, right? When you see the things that they go through, you have empathy. You know what I'm saying? Or, you live in a group of people, a society of people, right? Like, you know, uh, you and friends, y'all might be playing a game. And then the ball rolls over there. You say, yeah, nah, that's out of bounds. See, we got to agree that that's out of bounds so that we realize that if we play like that, it's not going to work out in our group that we have, you know what I'm saying, that we trying to just play this game. You see what I'm saying? So, that was just the question that I had, that the next time I hear somebody religious say that, right, I'm going to ask them, how come the rules don't come about until 2,000 years later? And how much time passed between uh, Adam and Moses? Like why the Jews was making all those pagan gods? Why they didn't know already, right? If the morals came from God, why they ain't know already not to be doing that? See a couple people shot King, be God. But I guess that's the type of thing. That's the type of thing that we contemplating now that we got 14 minutes and a little bit of change left until Ford arrives on the mothership. Or maybe they just gonna dispatch a couple of baby planes to pick up those of us that's important. It's just one of them things, when you talk about just the development of civilization, because you see it in other ways in terms of that moral, that the development of morals, right? Because there's lots of things that's in the Bible, right? That a righteous person can't, uh, you couldn't condone that now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we got a couple of brothers on here, right? So I don't know how many people got daughters, right? I have daughters. So, in the Bible, if if a woman is SA, right? Great, whatever, right? In the Bible, that guy's supposed to come to me, her father, right? And then I'm supposed to let him marry my daughter. He's supposed to, he's his penalty for that, right, is to be able to marry my daughter. You know what I'm saying? Now look, maybe at that time, that was they moral development where they thought that was cool. I don't think anybody, would think that's cool now. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's another example too, right? When the people come, the people come to the who is it, Lot? When they come to his house and they say, look, two cats in there, you know, we want to R word them. Off rip, how is this in the Bible? Like, what, what kind of, what kind of shit is that? That's not even funny. But then the guy says, well, nah, leave them alone. Here, take my daughters. So these people are clearly, they're learning morality over time. You understand what I mean? Because if morality came from God, right, then, you know, shit in the times, with Adam, right after Noah, certain times, right? Shouldn't all this been in the script? You know what I'm saying? Slavery, all these various things, slavery was cool as long as they was looking in the Bible. But see, because of social and economic factors, from social and economic factors, right? They stopped doing it. But nothing in the Bible ever, no level of morality in the Bible says that. You know what I mean? You know, unless, but see now look, Don Bishop, you talking about the GMS Hebrew, that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Unless you're of that group in particular. So that's a GMS Hebrew group version of the Bible. I've seen other groups debunk that. So what who they that's their perversion of the Bible. Like what are you saying? In what in what way are they distorting it? I mean, I don't think it could uh rise through religion because, you know, people knew that killing other people was bad before Jesus Christ. Before Moses, before all of these things, look, various people got various experiences. But I'm saying if you see somebody pass away, right, you understand, especially, you know, somebody, you know, being involuntarily unalive, what I'm saying? Not by natural causes, I'm saying, that you notice that. And only somebody who ain't never seen that is going to deny that. Something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you if you don't notice that. Like that's even wild animals. Like if you attack one ant, they let off a chemical that let all the other ants know they under attack. I seen it one time on the Nature Channel. they had a little tube of shark blood like this. There was all these sharks in the water. They had, they had them, tagged with the radar stuff and all of that. And they put that little tube of shark blood in the water, and all the sharks left the area. So that's, who can say? But that's one of the, that's one of the, that's one of the things in Christianity that I never really understood that about the Ten Commandments. Because uh, that's another thing, right? How is that explained? See, because I left religion so long ago, so I haven't had a chance to really speak to the type of apologists and all of this and the people that try to explain this stuff away. Uh, how is it explained that, see, like even when you look at the Ten Commandments is for the people. You see what I'm saying? Like for instance, uh, jealousy is one of the seven deadly sins, right? But in the Ten Commandments, it says that he's a jealous God. All these various things, vengeance. There's no person in the history of time more vengeful than God in the Old Testament. Meaning those Melchizedek. So yeah, Melchizedek, we here right now on the countdown. We're on the countdown, checking out the mothership right here. We don't have too clear of a picture. Unfortunately, our plans, our plans to see the mothership rolling in was thwarted by the weather. You know what I'm saying? But we still here right now. We just discussing, we discussing some, a couple of matters. Being that we in the last minutes and seconds, see the countdown clock right there. Even though this is what I'm saying, this was funny. This countdown clock has reset a couple of times. So we'll see what's going on. But I figured in a few minutes, in a few minutes, the the news should be on. So then we can we can check out the news story because you never know. Like see right now, we could be maintaining it could be hell on the West Coast. you 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 don't know. See right now they could be hitting Europe. You know what I'm saying? And we wouldn't even know. So we check the news. You know what I mean? Justice born, you got your bags packed. It's nothing that's mysterious. You still gonna need your toothbrush. You still gonna need your toothbrush on the mothership. King James. Hey, listen. How long you had that name? Because I'm just saying, LeBron is He's on the downhill. He's on the downhill right now, man. He said the Ten Commandments story is a story that is interesting. It also revolves around the making of the idol Baal or Malik. Uh, well, yeah, I can't recall how it is. Is L Baal's father or Baal is L's father? I think L is Baal's father. So what's also interesting is how they kind of incorporated those idols into Judaism and Christianity. Justice Bourne said, "I'm good where I'm at." Listen, we're not just going to the mall, King Justice Bourne. We not just stopping by the Dunkin' Donuts on our way to work this time. we this this is the big one. We going to see what was Fred Sanford's wife? Who was Fred Sanford's wife? We going to see her now. Ah, I try, hold on, man. I'm missing some of these comments. Yeah, saying oh yeah, King James. That's what I was saying. Yeah, how long you had the account though? I'm saying because look, I be watching. See what I'm saying, man? What's going on here? You see, Elizabeth. That's what. Yeah, we going to see Elizabeth right now. Say this, this ain't this ain't your regular road trip right here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's one of my favorite pastimes now, King James, is I watch it's like blooper videos of LeBron right now. It's just, like, yo, I'm gonna tell you something, man. When you 6'9", 270, you just look funny flopping, son. You look funny flopping. Like, look, I remember one time Shaq tried to flop. He tried to he tried to take the charge and fall on the ground. And everybody on the court just stopped and looked at him down. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That the countdown never restarted. But look, you know black people saying. you, you, you know black people, man. All that there, they get here when they get here. You know what I'm saying? Black people, we don't hope, we wish. Trying to make everybody see too much people is on point. Too much people is on point. So what they doing now, they put a little stall on it so cats get their guard back down. See what I'm saying? As soon as cats, as soon as cats start thinking, like, oh man, ain't nothing gonna happen, they gonna start bombing. That's how that works. The element of surprise. You gotta you gotta know your what do you call that? Your art of war. He said the children of Israel made an idol with their own bowls, spoons, and jewelry, melted it down, and worshipped that which of their own making and bowed down to it. I mean, they had those guys already. Those is regular deities that they had in uh Canaan at that time. Yeah, this right here. We're gonna have to, because this almost looks like a loop, man. They fooling us. See, this is the type of shit right here. This is the type of shit right here. This is you. They're giving gas. They're giving gas to the type of flat Earth people. See, the type of people that say everything that NASA reports is fake. So you giving those people space right now because they're gonna look at this and say, "See, come on, man." You're gonna have people saying this right here, oh, all of it. Look, because you know how people is. You know how the tinfoil hats is. They're gonna say off the rip. See, you use the weather machine. You use the weather machine to obscure what really happened, and then you showed us this here fake simulated this here fake simulated thing. You understand what I'm saying? And now, right, and that's how we know the Earth is flat. That see, you see what you picking up what I'm putting down, man. It goes. He said something happened, and they switched the tape like the Epstein joint. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that nigga, but at this point, I know that I feel safe to say that a lot of people is they full of it because you know if there was something there, it would have came out. You know what I'm saying? And the fact is, I think that the real reason it never came out when they was promising it is because you seeing that the names in the list is not the people that you thought it was going to be. Not for nothing. Have y'all noticed that these numbers on the bottom, right? You got the clock, but then on the bottom, there's a counter, right? Now, a minute ago, before this pause, the counter was counting down. And so I'm wondering, did the ship pass us by? Like, was the countdown saying that, okay, that's how many miles it was away, and now it's past us and it's going? Is this like, is this like when you in the house and you hear the ice cream truck, but he's driving too fast? See, I don't know if y'all from New York. See, the people from New York know what I'm saying. See, you hear the ice cream truck, but you upstairs on the fifth floor. So you hoping that if some other kids outside, you hoping that if some other kids outside, just stop them till you get there. I don't know if that just happened to us. if we just if we just missed the whole ice cream truck. But it could be other things too though. Like you know how when you in the airplane and sometimes for whatever reason, it might be extra planes on the runway or whatever, so they can't land right now. So they make a pass and come back. That's, maybe maybe that's what's getting ready to happen. You know what I mean? It ain't, with all these devout Muslim guys out here, I could hardly believe. You know what I mean? Look, what was Brother Jabbar doing? Just sending me a message just now. I know good and well Mothership is supposed to pick them up. See, now it looks like it's rising, right? That's what I'm saying. What's so all of a sudden we got some interesting developments going on here because the it never was this high up on the screen. We'll see what happens. Let's see. Well, let's let this countdown. Let's let this countdown go down a little bit more, right? And then we're gonna tune into some news channels and see what if any damage was done out there. We give it a few more minutes here. Otherwise, I'm saying now look, just from the way that it's moving on the screen right now, right? It looks like is this not a natural way like you wouldn't suspect, something that's being propelled because it's at, like a comet, because this thing is look, it's moving in all directions. It's move up, down, right, left. I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's normal comet behavior. It appears to be slightly changing colors. Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, man. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they just came. Maybe they just came to strike down the Scientology, the Scientology temples. Maybe they just came. Maybe they just came. Maybe they just came to to drop high powered bombs on the Scientology headquarters. You know what I mean? So that they could stop the BS going on. Just came to take that out, put everything back on the right path. Speaking of Scientology, this is L. Ron Hubbard's. This is L. Ron Hubbard's. Uh, this is kind of thing right here. Did you know that L. Ron Hubbard, at least at one point, was the most prolific science fiction writer of all time? He wrote more science fiction books than anybody. Just I'm just saying in general, right? In general, this is not uh when you saying that somebody is coming up with a system for you to live by, right? That you used to make up the wildest fiction, right? In the world, right? You imagine it outer space stuff that no one's ever seen before, right? So you just coming up with this make believe stuff, right? Made out of whole cloth, like they say, right? And then look, before that, right? He was a disciple of Aleister Crowley. And look, with Aleister Crowley, even the white man called him the devil. That he's often described as the most evil person to ever exist. Like a lot of stuff that you hear and all of that occult stuff, like this dude was all the way talking about drinking baby's blood and stuff like that. So I think I read that in Daily Encounters, this publication we give to our clients in the nursing home. Yeah. But the dude, Aleister Crowley, he was wild. He was wild like that. And so now you got this guy, right, who, that's what he's doing. L. Ron Hubbard was involved with that ritual magic that they be doing. See, because they were the people that they want the power. They want the power. Look, men and dose, right? That's part of the history that I learned about where you from. Is that see when Ptolemy and them got there, they wanted the power. And so one of the things that happened to the knowledgeable people, the people that understood about the religion of the Egyptian and everything, that he was going around telling people, look, I'm the Pharaoh now, make me a god. And when they was telling him no, he was returning to the essence. They want the power. They, all these various things what they be saying. Remember on the what do you call that thing with the Cobra Commander? And remember when they was making Serpentor, they had to have a specific kind of DNA. See, like communion and all that type of stuff like that. That's you trying to get the power by consuming the person. You see, look, you got people like that. They be savages, but they still they doing that. Like the motherfucker say, yo, look, the enemy after we return them, right? We gonna cut their heart out and eat it. See what I'm saying? Because they think that's gonna give them power over all these people. So that's why they practice this type of stuff in the ritual magic. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a lock of the person's hair or clip their fingernails and all of this stuff. Said Crowley went to Egypt in 1904, if I recall, before Egyptology became popular during Napoleon, and as a rich European at that time period was able to throw his weight around easily. Now you probably talking about somebody else. Well, Napoleon is 1804. Now you're right in terms of Egyptology really becomes super famous with King Tut. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the 1920s. At the bar, I don't think they experimental though. Like they might be experimenting, but they the real deal. They the real deal. They not experimental, man. And, the jury is in. Right, the book of law and all of that stuff like that, but they making up their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm just saying all that to say that that's the history of Scientology. That's the lineage of it. This thing is this thing is moving all around, but look, we're gonna let's give it. I guess we'll wait this last run out, then we're gonna check the news, man. Yeah, plus, see, once you got to the Dark Ages, the Europeans lost a lot of history. Like, they had writings, and things that had made its way to Europe, but a lot of that history was lost. You know what I'm saying? Like what was going on in Egypt and all of that, they couldn't be concerned with that. Especially once you get the Ottoman Empire and all that, like, it's not a whole lot of them going over there. He said that Crowley was on a whole cocktail of drugs. Indeed. I'm saying these are the people. He said excavation of the tombs. Yeah, they was excavating tombs, but it was something, if I'm not mistaken, uh see, a lot of the other tombs that they have found have been raided. The way I recall it, it was that King Tut was found pretty much intact. You know what I'm saying? And because I remember when King Tut came to America, at least that time. I don't know when I recall that them saying that was the first time. You know what I'm saying, that King Tut came to America, and with King Tut they had the whole room. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the sarcophagus. Like, a lot of times when you see the sarcophagus, it's just the stone stuff left, like all the decoration, everything is gone. But all his jewelry, the gold and everything in the room, all of that was still there. So I think that was what was significant about that. And you also it was already starting to soak in, uh, you know, like he's saying, from 1804 until that time, right? Now you getting the Shriners and all of these other people that is they curious about Egypt because see, like I said, you gotta remember that's Ottoman, that's Ottoman Empire territory up until 1919. So Rothschilds, Kavanaugh, and Rockefeller were those who were excavating. Who's Kavanaugh? Yeah, but he was somehow their biggest find. You see, this thing is just moving back and forth, man. They're gonna make the flat earth people go crazy. Sharing love. We thought you already got beamed up. We we still doing it. Right? I got a question for everybody. I got a question for everybody. Right? I just want to know what you're gonna say. That's interesting. I ain't never noticed angle right here. Minato said their interest in King Tut was also because he was New Kingdom and they sought to portray him as Greek. Hmm. Yeah, we just checking out we just checking out the mothership right here. You know what I'm saying? We got our bags packed, but right now we're not sure. See this number on the bottom? We say 335 and counting. Just turned 336. When we first came on, that number was going down. So what I was wondering is when we first came on, was the number going down because as the mothership was coming towards us, the distance was decreasing, right? But then, like I was telling the brothers, you know what I'm saying? You know how when you be upstairs and you hear the ice cream truck, but you way upstairs, so you hoping that there's some other kids downstairs that stop the ice cream truck, and by the time they get on the line and everything, you can make it down. See, I'm wondering if that's what happened to us, and we all missed the ice cream truck. Can't call it. But look, here's the question that I have for everybody, right? What's gonna happen when you run into somebody that says, "Oh yeah, no doubt, that was the mothership, right? I got beamed up, and then I got beamed back down." When they say, "Nah, we went up there, right? We went up there. You know what I'm saying? He built with me on some couple of things. You know what I mean? And he told me to tell y'all this." what, what would you say to that person? That's a real question. That's not that's not rhetorical. What are you gonna say? when somebody says, "Oh yeah, no, that was a mothership," the reason I know, right, is because I had a close encounter of the third kind. See, like right now, I think this is what we doing right now by observing it right here. This is a close encounter of the first kind. I'm not exactly sure how it goes though. Yeah, we got a minute left. Let's see what happens. Look, we looking at the clock and we looking at the bottom number. Because see, one thing, the thing that makes me think that the bottom number is not the distance, right? Is because that's a really small, even to just have 6 digits, right? Is That's too small for galactic distance. You know what I'm saying? You said you still never figured out the answer to the 51 days? Yeah, man, Juice. You you look, you know what, man, Deuce, I'm gonna give you a hint. Even though I generally don't do this, but you you super hype. So look, the one thing I left out of the question, right? I mentioned the years, months, and days, right? But in the degree, right, it says those years, months, and days at the date of this writing. Look over there where it says at the date of this writing. That's a clue for you. See, I don't know what's going on. Look, we're gonna check. Let's check the news. Let's check the news here and see. Let's see if there's been any reporting. Let's see. That's last night, December 18th. What's in this window? Is that live? Hold on, let me come over here and see these comments. So Alan Cavanaugh was an archaeologist from Newcastle, Australia, who was a surveyor that took excavation trips to Giza twice. So I was listening to a program say if the option was purely natural, every element of the behavior should have been chaotic. Instead, the data showed coherence. Yeah, uh, that's what we that's what we observing right here. We try to just see. Look, we're not disputing anything. We're not making any claims. We just know the possibilities. You know what I'm saying? The once as a volunteer, second time with the Delma to work tombs in the that's a Sakara or Sahara? Is that Sakara or Sahara? Is Sakara something separate? Yeah, I saw this right here too. This is another thing. I was watching this that's on the screen right now, but I can't make no sense of this. Like this looks like a video game. Like look, even I had to say, like, look, you making people think the earth is flat right now. You making people think that you make all this stuff up. And China found specifically that the object is not just drifting through the solar system, but responding to it. Hmm. Yeah, you know something? That's actually interesting because you still over there in we were in not the Philippines, Vietnam, right? The freedom culture for the people that you might be new, man. The freedom culture, he's he's pretty much a you can't really say passport bro because he ain't coming back. How long you been out there, freedom culture? It's been about 2 or 3 years now, right? Hold on, let's see if we can find some news. So that was the question that I had. This Avi Lowe, y'all want to hear? Hold on, let's see. Let's see. This is the last Avi Lowe. Uh, well, let's look at this right here first, right? Newsmax. Should we look at this? Oh yeah, this is Avi Lowe again. But what is this? Says 12 hours. So let's look at the short clip first. Okay, so Saqqara is a place in Saqqara is a place in Egypt. Okay. Yeah, so that was Freedom Culture. That's how I was saying. I don't know if you like, do you still look at the news from America? Oh, wait a minute here. Is this sound on? Let's pause this. Let's pause this so we can come back to it. But I was asking, do you still watch the news in America, right? And then so like what is the have you noticed differences in the way it's being covered in America and the way it's being covered in Asia? You heard a conference on it. That's what I'm saying. Who? So the conference was between who? Why you why you hitting that? You said what's more quiet? Let's see what Avi Lowe has to say. USA conference. So you saying in Asia, it's less reporting on it? It's more quiet in Asia or in America. So I've been watching USA News is more entertaining. Yeah, I want to know what they got to say. 'Cause see, you know what it is. See, in Vietnam, right? So you saying so in Asia it's more quiet. See, in Vietnam, they don't know about Elijah Muhammad. They don't know to be scared. Yeah, here we go. I wonder why we got no sound. Oh, that's, okay. Okay, at least that. When we look at what he got right here on the news, now this looks like what we was just looking at. So that gives it a little bit of merit right there. Uh, minute dose. When you say this pseudoscientific Hamitic theory, is that the same as the sub-Saharan stuff? But let's let Abby Lowe go. Yeah, so Abby Lowe schooled us on a couple of things there. Clarify some of what we was looking at earlier. So you're saying so this Hamitic theory that you're saying now, right? You're saying that people of the Horn of Africa, certain people in Ethiopia and Kush, don't have West African Bantu DNA, and that's how they misdefine so-called sub-Saharan. All right, now the people of that area, I'm not sure when that classification came about, but I know that during that time, the people in that area was known as Caucasian. I'm not sure if that's related to I'm not sure if that's related to this Hamitic theory. Like the people in Ethiopia was known as Caucasian, like in the early 1900s. Yeah, that's another crazy thing right here, man. You see this thing that happened at Brown University? See, that's what I was telling that brother the other day, man. And you gotta, there's people that's too close to the edge right now, man. Way too close, you know. And see, the thing I don't like is that we gotta live out here around these people. In a minute, we'll check out this story here with the post on it. Yeah, you'd be surprised at the people that they was considering Caucasian. Said, you curious about how I see all the what? Now I don't know if you can see my screen right here. If you can see my screen, Mina Dukes, right? But you see where I have my mouse right here where it says Caucasian is an outdated term in older unscientific 19th and early to mid 20th century anthropological classifications. Some Ethiopians, particularly the Amhara, remember I kept asking you if you was Amharic yesterday? And then after a while I said, nah, I think that's the Ethiopians. This is the people I'm talking about right here, right? The Amhara and Tigray ethnic groups were mistakenly classified as Caucasoid or Ethiopian based on perceived facial features or skull shape rather than actual genetics or geography. These classifications were often rooted in colonial era thinking that questioned how Black Africans could develop complex societies without outside, e.g., Caucasian influence. He said they originally believed Great Zimbabwe was ruled by King Solomon, who they also believed to be Caucasian at that time. He said, I can see that Christ because certain Ethiopians didn't see themselves as one with this, one and the same with the dark skinned people in Africa. Look, and they're doing that here in America. They're doing that here in America. That's one of the reasons how I know this. You know what I'm saying? Like I had heard this. See, one thing is this is because in New York, you got Ellis Island, right? So, on the East Coast, that's the main port of entry, or it was the main point of entry at that time for immigration. You know what I'm saying? And so the various ways, like how Italians haven't always been white, like all of that knowledge is kind of strong in New York because all of those people had to deal with immigration right here. So the stories of the various people that came and wasn't allowed to come, et cetera, because that's what that got to do with. You know what I'm saying? Who was able to migrate to America, and then what kind of resources they was going to be allowed to have when they got here. She said there's no such thing as European facial features. Europeans look like a small subset of North Africans. The original man encompassed every shade of black and brown in North Africa before white skin existed. I mean, personally would I would differ with you on that. It's for me it's kind of clear, and you see it a lot with people that's mixed. You know what I'm saying? But maybe I'm just old school too. Sometimes you from a time when things wasn't it wasn't customary. It wasn't, widespread. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it could be that. But it still bugs me out, right? When I see somebody that's mixed, right, with a white part of the family. Like if you see somebody that's mixed, right, and they with they moms and say they moms is white, and then you got this black person or this mixed person, right, and this white person that look just alike, that is crazy to me. That's still like, you ever heard Jay Leno tell that joke where he said that his grandfather was from Italy, and so he couldn't understand, like, if he saw a Chinese person in the Italian restaurant, he was just amazed by that. Like, he was amused, like, yo, what's going on with that? So, for me, when I look, I see a little bit different features. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I saw somebody from Sweden, right, with uh, you know, let's say, Wesley Snipes features, right, but with the white skin. Or for instance, look, did you see? Have you seen Young Thug's last album cover? That looks bugged out to me. Or uh, have you ever seen somebody, right? I've seen people from Africa, I don't know what country, and I've seen people from Jamaica that have been so successful at skin bleaching that they skin is white, but they still got all the same features. I seen a couple people like that. Said they weren't white though. What they meant by European features is, look at, say, the difference of an Ethiopian's nose and a West African's nose, Negroid, Caucasoid, etc., are all debunked, outdated terms, like it says. Um, See, what they really, to me, right, what's been debunked is uh the status that is inferred, right? The status, or the skills and talents. You know what I'm saying? Meaning, if a person is Caucasian, they fit in this place, right? If we was to build a chart of intelligence, right, then a Caucasian would fit in this place right here, and a black person would be down here at the bottom. That's been debunked, right? But the reality is, uh, you know, tribes have similarities. You know what I'm saying? And those and that's something that's scientific. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, when you go to East Africa, and you see the tall people like the Maasai, right? Or you see the short people like the what you call them, the Twa people? No, that's what's the name? We call those people. They call them Bushmen. You know, saying all that to say that look, you ever well, you African, I'm about to say you ever stand on the street with an African. But look, when the Africans that I be around, they know everybody and what country they from. The Africans can look at each other and be like, oh yeah, nah, he's from this tribe right here. You know what I'm saying? And those uh characteristics a lot of times go to the bone. Africa is the most genetically diverse place on the planet. Absolutely. He said it bugs me out when people in Asia say that I look American. Yeah, the pygmies, but it's different. It's different out of the pygmies. There's several groups of people. Like they have a tribe name, but they've all been put in that category of Bushmen and pygmies. The tribe that they said is the oldest tribe that they found, they part of that. But what I'm saying that to say, right, is that okay, if I dig up some bones from the Maasai tribe, right, I'm gonna expect them to look differently than if I dig up some bones from some of the pygmy people. You know what I'm saying? Are these differences, concrete? Absolutely. Um, when you're talking about bone structure and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot more exceptions to the rule. You know what I'm saying? See, another thing that was happening back then, right, is that they was having small sample sizes a lot of times. So, like for instance, um, when I watch the nature programs, one thing I found out is that like in the 1800s and the early 1900s, like you know how now they got there's the Asiatic lion and there's the African lion, right? At one time, they had like 10, they thought it was like 10 different kinds of lions in Africa. But eventually, they found out that, or eventually from observing, they were seeing that these lions, that the different types of lions, where they was describing them, say by how they mane is, or how they tail is, or whatever. Eventually, they saw that all these lions are being the same pride. So if they're in the same pride, they're related. You know what I'm saying? So they're not different types of lions. They're just, different lions in the family. You know what I'm saying? That look a little bit different. So, said how solid are the findings that differentiate between one group of people and the other? Said, I think Noble Drew Ali is correct in his assertion that there's only two races, Caucasians and the various ethnicities of original people. Um, well, I agree that uh, 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 you know, Caucasians have been through a process, right? Where at the end of it, it's described as producing something that is no more the same. But nah, it's various people that uh they not You know what I'm saying? They not they not with us if you ask me. But in terms of the um see uh there's a lot of variation, right? But um put it like this. If it's the same amount that it is for them to tell when they say, okay, this is a Cro-Magnon or a Australopithecus, you know what I'm saying? These are the same things, but of course, because it's a whole other species, right? The differences are more pronounced. You know what I'm saying? Like if you ever seen them, scientists, and they'll have uh, maybe a human head and a chimpanzee head and a gorilla head or whatever, and you will see, various things, how sloped the forehead is, how much the eyebrow ridges stick out, how the jaw connects. These is various things. If uh, you know, you got animals where they found a tooth, and from that tooth, right? They saying that, yeah, we could tell that this was a 50-ton animal. All of that's based on the the observations. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, then how can they tell the Neanderthals, right, from the Homo sapiens? He said not all original people is Asiatic black men, they're his descendants, like the so-called yellow race, for example. See, now look, and it's funny that you picked that example because see, when it comes to yellow, right, there's an extremely wide, there's an extremely wide uh, you know, area of consideration. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, God, look, uh, you got uh people, let's say, uh I'm trying to think of a good example. Cause see, there's a lot of bad examples. You said we also got half and less than half, right? And see, this is what I'm saying though. But you got a lot of half original people, right? That fall under yellow. You got, we're Asiatic, right? But you have Asian people that fall under yellow, right? You got light skinned people, right? That fall under yellow. And what I'm saying is that now all of them is not my yellow. All of them is not my yellow, G. See, I got kids, right? I got all the way from uh, one that's darker than me, right? All the way to my daughter, right, that she don't like to admit that she likes it. She look, she gonna kill me if she see this live. But she don't like being the light skinned person in the family. And see, look, this what I'm saying, G. This what I'm saying, right? If you know what I'm saying, like, to say I'm dealing with a woman that's my complexion, right? And she comes back with a light skinned black baby, right? There's a limit to that, G. Like if you come back with a baby with the no folds in their eyes, you know what I'm saying, the various characteristics that Asian people have, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, singling them out for nothing wrong, just saying that I would have a problem, we're gonna have to go on Maury. Said, to my understanding, the majority of Asians evolve yellow and then become that way through Caucasian dilution. This is why Eskimos didn't become Caucasians because they're Asian descendants, not Caucasian descent, and they're unique to vitamin high and vitamin D. Uh, yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. That history is kind of disputed. Did you ever notice, right, that in Asia, right, even within Asian countries, right? Like within India, right? The further you go south, the darker the people become. Like when you up in China and Japan, those people are transparent, fluorescent white. And by the time you get down to Southeast Asia, right? Even more when you get into the Pacific Islands, when you get to Australia, all these places, people was jet black, blacker than everybody in America. That's not evolution, God. And look, I mean the floor is open. I'm not saying that I'm the expert on it, but I'm just saying that doesn't look like evolution to me. Like why would all the light skinned people evolve in northern India? So, necessarily that those people, evolve directly from us. Right. When you get out to Indonesia and all right, Cambodia, all them places, you know what I'm saying? You start seeing people that could blend in. Like you start seeing people that if you saw them with a black family, you wouldn't really, it wouldn't, like if you saw them at a family reunion and you just was looking and you wouldn't be like, yo, who's that Indonesian guy? Or how when they tell you how the original people, what I'm saying? It's various tribes. I can't recall the name of all of them. You know what I'm saying? I think in Japan it's the Ainu or something like that. but they tell you about these tribes of people that was there before those light skinned people got there. Say, can you Google race is a social construct? You'll see what I mean. Caucasians come specifically from Northern Europe. Indians settled in from Africa there for 35,000 years. I mean, we could Google it, but here's the thing, right? This see that see DNA is a thing. It's a scientific thing. So to say that a person in Sweden is blonde hair and blue eyed because of a social construct, like they're not really blonde hair and blue eyed, right? It's just the way we think about it. This is not this is okay. Now the Aryans, right? Who is these magical Aryan people? No, that's what people are saying when they say race is just a social construct. See, what's a social construct? Now look, you see right here, and I do that. I look in the suggested, right? You see the suggested stuff right here? I like to look at that. Like when you just type in something, I like to see what comes up. Now look here. You see there's debate right here. You said to Google it, right? And off the rip, you see that there's debate right here. When you put race is just a social construct, the very first suggestion, right, is race is not just a social construct. The next one is how race is a social construct. What makes race a social construct? So what I'm saying is what's socially constructed, right, is the abilities that's assigned to races. You see, you have to have a Scandinavian baby before you could tell me that people is white because of the way we think about them. Right. The colonizers, what they did with race is say, okay, because of your race, right, it's cool to enslave you. No, what's the colonial social construct, right? Is that white people are better than black people because they're white. But I mean, you keep saying that that's not what you're saying. Okay, so look, here's what let's do this. Let's start here, right? Let's define race. What do you talk when you say race? What do you mean? Yeah, we see Google's answer. But look, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm going to argue if Google says that race is a construct, you know, that's God. That's like the racist white people who always say they don't see race. See, what they mean is, I don't see race, I just see your incompetence. I don't see race, I just see somebody that I'm going to exclude from from whatever I'm doing. So this says, yes, race is widely understood by scientists and social scientists as a social construct, meaning it's a concept created and defined by society, not a biological reality, though it has very real social, economic, and health consequences. Okay, when they say that being black is not a biological reality, right? I'm just telling you, as a person with kids, I don't buy this. That you have to show me the person that has Scandinavian genetic code, right? You got to show me the people that's genotypically Scandinavian and phenotypically Nilotic. I'm saying that that's the scientific way to tell me, right, that what I'm seeing as race really has no biological witness. See, telling me that it's just a couple of genes, that doesn't impress me. And one of the reasons that doesn't impress me is because they say we share 98% DNA with monkeys. So if just 2% of your DNA can make you a monkey, then yeah, it's a very powerful substance. Where you don't need that much of it to make a big difference. She says there is no genetic or biological basis for distinct human races. Human variation is continuous, not categorical. And I mean, look, I gotta tell you something. See, where's the data? See, a lot of this stuff right here, you got. How did they determine that? See, just because they said that it's scientific, how did they determine that? Because see, let me tell you something. A lot of times, you will have you will have two scientific papers, right? You have two scientific papers, and they came to different conclusions, but they analyzed the same experiment. They're not always. That's what I'm saying. You got to really see the data because that just like those two groups of scientists looked at the data and saw something different. I give you an example, right? I give you an example. He says, see what it says when you type race is a colonial construct. We're saying two different things. I'm not saying race isn't real. I'm saying the construct was made to group all whites together and divide originally. All right, I'm gonna get back to that, right? Uh, remember when Mike Brown passed away? Now, you had different coroners announce their findings of the autopsy, right? I think he might have got a second autopsy in Washington. I'm not sure, but I know most of the people that you saw come on the news, they all analyzed the same examination. Like every coroner that came out and gave their what's the name, they didn't do their own autopsy. It was one people that analyzed it. They wrote down whatever was the notes that you take when you were coroner and you doing an autopsy, and then they all analyzed it. And some of them said this, and some of them said that. So, that I'm just saying that to say, right, that look, even these scientific people got to show and prove what they saying. Just because they put a white coat on, you know what I'm saying? Look, just because they got on a white robe instead of a black robe, that don't mean they don't got to show and prove what they saying. So there's that part. You know, now let's get into. So you said races are social categories invented in giving meaning by cultures and governments to organize people, often hierarchically. Okay, the social categories and the meaning given, right, and the hierarchy are social constructs. Absolutely, right? But we're going to check. We're gonna click on that link where it says not biological. So it says here, historical origins, the modern concept of race developed with colonialism and the slave trade to rationalize the subjugation of certain groups. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's I'm very quick. We should be I'm behind in the listening. So it says here, real consequences, even though, right, the MC1R gene is, that's what I'm saying. Thank you, Melchizedek. That's what I'm saying. What the hell is E1B1A or whatever they talking about then? If there's no, what is E1B1A or whatever they call it? Said they're still somewhat correct in that assertion because even the white man was grafted from the original man. White skin was a mutation that didn't exist before 3,000 to 12,000 years ago. So essentially, we all have 99% the same DNA with different phenotypes decided by that 1%. Yeah, that 1% is our power. That's what I'm saying. Look, you said 99% the same DNA, 98% with a monkey. She said, even though it's not biological, racial classifications have powerful, tangible effects on people's lives, opportunities, and health outcomes, known as Thomas theorem. See, all this stuff is not race. This stuff is racism. See, racism is a social construct. So racial categories and their meanings change over time and between different societies. Why it matters, recognizing race as a social construct challenges the idea that racial differences are natural or inherent. Okay, now look, God, I gotta ask you a question here, right? You from Egypt, right? You from East Africa. When's the last time somebody won a marathon that wasn't from East Africa? And when's the last time a European won the 100-meter dash? God, just somebody has to explain this stuff. These are my questions. When is the last time you seen a colored man win the 100-meter dash? Like, are we saying that people from West African descent have not proven that they are the fastest sprinters in the world? No. What it means, no. from East Africa. People from Kenya and Ethiopia have been dominating distance running for 20, 30 years. They got certain characteristics that lend itself to that. See, one thing, they in the mountains. So see, once they train in the mountains, right, and then come down here in the regular air, they can't be dealt with. Like that. I need that question answered because see, that's a physical thing. That's not a social construct, right? When is the last time a colored man held the record for the 100-meter dash? Or is it just because, socially we think we fast, so we fast? But look, that's good. We got that part of the story right there, right? Let's see what this person over here says. Oh yeah. Uh, but those were never see right now, you mixing race with ethnicity. When you say Ethiopians and say Yorubans, right, is different ethnicities. See, ethnicity is more, cultural and environmental. You said, but you see in their theory, they said Ethiopians weren't Negroid. I mean, you kind of explain that with your, you kind of explain that with your, with your, when you spoke on the, um, when you spoke on the Hamitic theory. Um, I mean, I don't know, man. But it says here, this person just asked a question, right? Can anyone explain why race is a social rather than genetic construct? I'm trying to understand, but I'm not fully grasping it as a concept. Isn't someone's race defined by genetics? Or is the correct understanding that racial group features are determined by their culture and other factors? This is this is my question. So this person said, here's what is I don't know why I'm so far behind on my screen over here. So it says here, here's an easy way to look at it. There are certain genetic variations on a human body that carry no social meaning whatsoever. For example, some humans have attached earlobes, some don't. Yet no one assigns a group affiliation, identity, or narrative to an individual based on their earlobe configuration. But as a result of colonialism and the racist ideologies it produced, a plethora of social meanings get attached to a person based on their skin color. These social meanings are not genetic or natural. They are simply the product of narratives that people tell in mass over a long historical period of time. And what I'm saying is that this person, see, attached earlobes. This is the thing. See, that's what I'm saying. That you can speak scientifically, but this is not scientific. See, because the attached earlobes, right? Is it manifesting itself through heredity? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some characteristics, right, that is not involved in the variation of race. And we see variation across the population, right? So let's say like height, right? You got tall white people and you got tall black people. But do you have blonde hair, blue eye, the complexion of Madonna, black people? And do you have nilotic? See, this is what I'm saying. Where you put the variation, there is no variation. Like, what's the racial variation? Like, what's the tribe in Africa that shows, or you says all this racial diversity in Africa? Where's the tribe in Africa that show when genetic diversity, not racial diversity, right? But with all this uh, genetic diversity in Africa, right? Why there's not a tribe of white people? Yeah, now I was born. What are you still doing here? What you still doing here, man? This thing that came and went. That's what I'm saying. That there's if it was only a social construct, see, this is what it's saying. No one assigns a group affiliation, identity, or narrative to an individual. See, it's the narrative, but as a result of colonialism is a social construct. Like I said, racist ideologies is social construct, but he did not mention the genes. And guy, you do realize that they're saying being men and women is social constructs. So not saying to discount them to say that everything they saying is false or to, you know, be saying that everything they saying is right. I'm just saying that when they say these things, I examine them for myself. Yeah, you know something? The bar is you right about that. When you say family clan, a tribe is actually the word tribe is a Roman tax unit. Like those group of people over there, right? When they go to collect their taxes, they know like, okay, look, we're going to collect from this many tribes, and this is what we expect. You know what I mean? Just like if you got uh like if you own a chain of stores, and so yeah, you know how many stores you got it and how much you making money. That's where the tribe comes from. This is what I'm saying, Amina Dose. What you're describing is racism, not race. You see this right here where he's saying, look, the other person says, yes, an excellent book on race. I can't find the author or title made a similar point. Some people have wet earwax and some people have dry earwax. The reasons for this difference are genetic, yet nobody divides the human population based on earwax races. Skin, however, is used to divide the world, even though its difference is as arbitrary as whether one's earwax is wet or dry. If it's arbitrary, it's not a social construct. This person totally contradicted themselves. Some can be arbitrary in a social construct at the same time. Look, I got another question for you, Mina Dose. You said pertaining to North Africa, that's how we got on this topic because the European used pseudoscience to divide Africans. What you said here? Power in our bill. Oh, I gotta look it back up. Okay, but you have to say that the colonial construct of race, right? Look, I'm gonna give you a name. Uh, Johann Blumenbach. See, a lot of times I notice that when I go into a topic and I disagree with people, I have to actually go back into all the research that I've done on this. Like I'm not just talking from YouTube videos. Do you know who Johann Blumenbach is? Let me see if I can see these. You said power and power. Yo, saying word is bond, man. Motherfucking power, man. Crazy. Right. Johann Blumenbach was a scientist from Germany, and he's the person who, you know, uh, provided the scientific underpinning. You see that existed since at least biblical times. where you got people is considered whole nations unto themselves. And if you think that Ethiopian, when they describe somebody as from this tribe of Ethiopians or whatever, if you think that just meant the geographical place that they from, and it didn't mean that they black. Mean like remember back in the days, not too long ago, when the brother that was playing for the Seattle Seahawks, right? They had called him a thug. They was talking about, yeah, you know, it's all these thugs in the NFL. And he said, see, don't think you slick and that I don't know that that's just your new way to say nigga. See, the same way as, you know, look, you know, the disadvantaged kids, you know, the children, the children, you know, with you know, social challenges, whatever. That's saying the little nigga children. See, just like right now, if you say, yo, man, this motherfucker, you know, you want some Greek shit, what are you saying about it? Like if you say somebody's Roman, there's no particular way that you expect that person to look. That's why you know, I mean, I understand, like I said, these things right here, right? What the narrative that's attached to each race is a social construct, you know. But if that's the case, look, I got question after question, guy. Why their music don't sound like our music? Where's the white Aretha Franklin? I'm waiting on the response here. Now painters, the history of white people. Yeah. Uh, I also seen her speak. I seen her speak in a couple of videos too. But yeah, that's my whole point. Just about the racial stuff is just that, you know. Nah, I've never you know, I've never conformed to that. You know, and I think it's a dangerous what's your name? They're essentially saying black people only have one set of features. That's why they try to say that Ethiopians have so much European facial features. Well, we also got to include what you said the first time is that they saw Northern Africa as being accomplished. And them seeing that as being accomplished, right? And them seeing black people as being backwards, right? They came to the conclusion that the people up there must have somehow descended from Caucasian people. But in terms of separating people, you got to remember, look, they got, you know, the Bantus, the Pygmies, et cetera, they got that whole war set up. You know, where supposedly there's something called a Bantu expansion, where the Bantu people just start taking over everybody. Maybe if socially we need to make some music where they could dance. Because if it's just a social construct, that means that it must be something wrong with the music is the reason why they offbeat. If it's not if it's not them, it must be something wrong with the music. But yeah, I don't know. Look, we going back. Let's check out, Avi Loeb. He's our resident expert over here. You know what I'm saying? Uh oh. I ain't look. I didn't even see that. This is the first I'm about to look. Whoa! Did you just see that mothership in those baby planes? Did you just see that mothership in those baby planes? Yo, what happened? Y'all got taken out? Am I the last person left? what just what just happened? I'm the last person left. Y'all just got on the ship and just left me. Ain't nobody even say nothing. Y'all ain't let Fard and Elijah know that I'm coming. Cats is grimy, son. Well, go ahead, man. Check out Avi Lowe by myself then. Some some brothers y'all is. The hell is that's Akila been there? Hey, look, this is shout out to this brother right here, man. Everybody that's still on the live. Look, I don't know what happened. It was a whole bunch of people on the live, Asukeli. I think everybody else got beamed up. I'm the last person right now. Ain't nobody commented in a couple of minutes right now. So right now, man, I think we the last. I think we the last Mohicans right now. You know what I'm saying? This is like the zombie movies. We just like the zombie movies now. We're a handful of people, and but look, we've been up the whole time. We've been up. We've been up since 4 o'clock with our bags packed. You know what I'm saying? I had a little snack. I had a little snack. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be traveling on an empty stomach. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we've been here. Yeah, we left behind. Right. That's what I'm saying. All of these other cats that got hit with the rapture. You know what I mean? So right now, that's what we doing is because we tried to look at it live, but they came with a scam. They came with a scam where they said that it was raining, so we can't really see it like that. So right now we just covering the news. I was looking at the news, just in case, because right now, see they could be in Europe right now dropping bombs. It could be all laser beams and bombs over there right now. We wouldn't know. So that's why we start checking out some of these news stories. We're gonna get back to this in a minute. Benito said those so-called Semitic people were also of the many shades of black, like Jesus would have been, and the Ethiopians is just one. Look up how many DNA strains are present in Africa. No, I mean I know about that. According to uh the last time I checked, they said that all of the rest of the people, that only two two genetic lines of people left Africa and survived and produced all of the rest of the people. And so that's why what you're saying, right, is that they have tribes of people in Africa that's more genetically different than a Chinese person and an Eskimo. You said the blackest tribe on Earth, the Supan, doesn't have so-called sub-Saharan DNA. Okay, so what kind of DNA they got? This is what I'm talking about. I need an example like this, right? So these are the blackest people on the planet. Okay, now what is their phenotype? Like if they have Swedish phenotype, then I can accept that there's no such thing as race. I read the sentence. Yeah, usually we are, but look, we was thinking we was gonna be out of here today. That's why we couldn't miss this. You know, you don't want to be sleeping when the Saints come marching in. Yeah, but what's the rest of the sentence? I don't get it. See what it is? I'm gonna tell you what it is. See, in my own mind, right? I'm a scientist myself, right? I'm a scientist myself, so yeah, I want to see. I want to see the data. I want to see the experiment. I want to know how you set the experiment up. I want to know what was your controls. Like for instance, right? You said sub-Saharan does not mean only West Africans. Well, see, look, the Sahara goes across the entire. I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you where is their DNA from? You see, this is what I'm saying, right? Have you heard that about that study where they said that sub-Saharan Africans got an IQ of like 60 or something like that? Have you ever heard that? You heard about that study, rather? you see that study uses the misnomer definition and is applying West African as the definition of all sub-Saharan DNA. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. That's what I'm saying. You got to look at the what's in it. Now, what you're saying is, what's that word? It's your intuition might tell you that. But the reality is that there was some kids that was refugees. You know what I'm saying? And they had been, like these was kids that uh they had caught like malaria and everything. And whatever happened, they shipped them to another country. They shipped them to another country to get medical care, right? So these kids don't even speak the language. And they gave them IQ tests. And it wasn't it wasn't like it was, 50,000 kids where you have it was a small sample, right, of children that was already in a bad situation. Like I can't remember the whole situation of why they was refugees. You know what I'm saying? But those were the people that they tested. So that's why I like to see, what did you do? How did you come to this conclusion, right? Are we satisfied, right, with the experiments that you set up to test your hypothesis, right, actually captured, the results actually captured the proper data that you needed. So this is what I'm saying. They use that to represent all substance. All right, yeah. But I'm just saying you have to also pay attention, right, to uh, you know, all of the facts and circumstances with these people because a lot of times, like, look, when we grew up, right, we grew up with all of this information about uh, sex and how it works, right? But then it turned out, right, that the person that came from, Kinsey, was a pervert. It turns out that the people he was interviewing was child molesters and prostitutes. This is his case studies. So that's why, I feel comfortable disputing these scientists, when, you look at what's happening here, you see that, all right, yeah, this person, I don't know how you got that white coat, but you're not qualified for it. So that's why I said with that, and then like I said, I see them pushing it in other things, right? Where they saying that being a man or a woman is performative. That is something that you perform, is something that you perform in society because society gave you the idea that you're a man. Hey, nah, bro, you a man on a molecular level. What the fuck are you talking about? He said, my point is that there's essentially no such thing as sub-Saharan DNA. Is that implies it's a single DNA strain when it's dozens. Okay, well that's where we because I never uh, considered sub-Saharan DNA to be one thing. Like now I understand totally what you're saying. Like I never understood them to be saying, right, that all sub-Saharan people have the same DNA. You know what I'm saying? One of the reasons is because they say that in West Africa is more genetic diversity than in all of the rest of the world. So, that type of thing. And then, like I said, just from my own knowledge, right? You know what I'm saying? I've seen, you know, like, when you see Kenyans, right, for the most part, they be slim. You know what I'm saying? But you see Nigerians, they be like a lot of not look. A lot of Kenyans end up being distance runners. A lot of Nigerians end up in football. Ever since the Nigerian terror, that's the first one that I knew about, Christian Okoye. You know what I'm saying? Uh, so I've always, known that, you got the pygmies and the various. So I never uh that concept was never present in my mind. But now that I see what you're saying, uh I mean, I see what you're saying. I still said the Blackest tribe is one of many sub-Saharan strains, but they have no West Africans. So by the colonizer's construct definition, he is not. So you saying that Nilotic people are not, you saying that Nilotic people in, say, Kenya are not seen as sub-Saharan? Like, I think Tanzania, isn't Tanzania on the east side? What about Uganda? Is Uganda West Africa? That's more central going towards the east, right? That's where the term comes from. Yeah, I don't know. I just that's a different just point of view right there. That I just never looked at it like that. You know what I'm saying? From, the various amount of tribes and everything, I never looked at it as being one tribe. I never thought that, like I said, Christian Okoye, right, and Manute Bol, that's I always looked at them as different groups. You know what I'm saying? But let's check out a little bit more. Let's see what is some of the phenomena here with the third interstellar object. And let's see if they let us know what we still doing here. You know what I'm saying? The handful of us that's left behind. That we got to do zombie apocalypse now. You know, hopefully they ain't leave no zombies. The best thing. Hey, look, it would be fucked up if they left us here with all the colored people. Don't leave us here with them. Take them with you. If hey, look, if we go outside, look, imagine we the last original people. You said the term sub-Saharan DNA. That's why they didn't consider the blackest tribe black, because they claim all blacks were Hamites who came from Bantus and the others were different. When we finish with this, I'm going to Google the term sub-Saharan because I don't know when they started using that term. But who are you saying is the blackest tribe? But let's check out Avi. Oh, that's what that is. Check out Avi Loeb over here. Wait, it was no sound just now? Well, I hear the sound. Oh, let's see. Let's bring it back. As we now. Let's take it from the top.
Did an alien spacecraft just fly through our solar system? That's the question a lot of people, including a Harvard astrophysicist, are asking right now. A massive interstellar object called 3I Atlas traveled thousands of light years and trillions of miles to end up here in our solar system. The mainstream news media has reported that 3I Atlas, which is the size of Manhattan, could be, maybe, hostile alien technology, an alien mothership sent to release alien probes to Earth to spy on humans, or worse. And members of the United States Congress have claimed there might be a cover-up of the truth. So what's going on here? Are aliens about to invade us? Do we need to call Will Smith?
Welcome to Earth.
Are we all screwed? I'm gonna dive in and make this make sense. In July 2025, an automated survey telescope in Chile spotted a faint, fast-moving object and reported it to NASA. This object was given a name, 3I Atlas. 3 for third, I for interstellar, and Atlas for the telescope that discovered it. It is only the third known object we have ever seen pass through our solar system that came from another star system. The first two were 1I, Oumuamua, and 2I, Borisov. NASA officially describes 3I Atlas as a comet, exhibiting all the normal behavior of a comet: an icy nucleus, a coma, a tail, and outgassing. Comets are basically dirty snowballs, ice mixed with dust. When they get close enough to the sun, that ice heats up and turns into gas. The gas jets out into space like tiny thrusters, giving the comet a little shove. This is called outgassing, and 3I Atlas was doing exactly this. But there were some weird things about this comet. It was racing through space at over 130,000 miles per hour, which is almost twice as fast as your average comet. It was on a hyperbolic.
Yeah, do we have, do we know how fast the mothership travels? See, we should have had some of the Muslim guys in here because, you know, they always like to say how there's so much of what Elijah Muhammad said that I haven't been exposed to. So I don't know if they can answer that question, right? But does anyone know how fast the mothership should be traveling?
Trajectory, meaning it's moving too fast to be captured by the sun's gravity. Most comets get caught in the sun's gravitational pull and they enter an orbit around our solar system. They come and go around and around. But 3I Atlas is projected to just swing by once and then leave forever. And Hubble data suggests it's huge, around 5.6 kilometers, which is roughly the size of Manhattan, New York City. And it's only projected to come within 170 million miles of Earth, which is not close. That's almost twice as far away as the Sun, which is around 90 million miles away. So okay, an interstellar comet.
That's 93 million miles, sir.
I guess that sounds kind of cool. Maybe not front page headlines kind of cool, but exciting nonetheless. But then a Harvard astronomer said maybe, just maybe, it's not a comet, but aliens. Avi Loeb is a Harvard astrophysicist who began his long science career in the 1980s, but in recent years has become semi-famous for his bold proclamations about alien life. He's written 2 speculative books about extraterrestrials and has become an A-list celebrity to UFO believers. So when 3I Atlas showed up, Loeb did what he does best: claim aliens and steal the headlines. In several papers, essays, blog posts, and interviews, Loeb suggested there was anywhere between a 20 and 40% chance that 3I Atlas was alien technology, a hostile alien probe sent to spy on Earth, and that it would maybe, perhaps, perform a secret technological maneuver behind the sun while hidden from our view. But buried inside all of Loeb's writings and comments, he himself admits that the object is most likely just a natural normal comet. So which of these 2 statements do you think the media ran with?
Alien technology.
Might actually be alien technology.
Actually be an alien spaceship.
Nearly every day for months, there was a fresh new claim about 3I Atlas being an alien spaceship, alien drone, alien probe, alien this, alien that. Cable news outlets like News Nation, which is notoriously friendly to UFO and alien stories, ran special reports almost every day. And the one and only source for all the alien stuff? One guy, Avi Loeb. Loeb's personal blog on Medium.com, which he updated almost weekly, became a bottomless reservoir of clickbait, and the alien headlines dominated social media and public perception. Meanwhile, NASA and scientists from many scientific organizations were over in the corner whispering, Hey, yeah, it's just a comet. It's just a comet. Can they hear me? I don't think they can hear me. Most comments and statements from NASA or other scientists were usually buried 3 to 5 scrolls down at the bottom of the news articles, which headlined aliens instead.
Are aliens headed for Earth right now, today?
Some people were actually freaking out. thinking an alien invasion was imminent and that humanity might be doomed. Does all of this sound familiar? Well, it should, because this all happened before. So we're currently here at 3 Eye. Let's go back to 1 Eye. In 2017, astronomers in Hawaii spotted something weird flying through the solar system. It was the first.
Hey, look, as for Kelly, so you got to realize they know it ain't, they ain't got forever. You know what I'm saying? See, when they see stuff like this, right? This is like one of those situations where you know you're in a situation, right? And let's say like it's like a sound, right? That's like, yo, when you hear the footsteps coming down this hallway, that the end is near. You know what I'm saying? So now look, every time you hear a footstep in that hallway, you like, oh man, here it comes. See, they know it's gonna be over, but they don't know exactly how. So every single thing, they gotta be on point, right? They got PTSD. They got PTSD for all the angel babies that they grew up with.
First confirmed interstellar object ever seen. They named it 1 Eye Oumuamua. It did not look or act like any normal space rock. It was shaped very strangely, long and thin. It had no visible comet tail, no gas jets, and yet it moved in a way that suggested some kind of non-gravitational push through space. And at that point, a mostly unknown Harvard scientist named Avi Loeb said, "Aliens?" ?
Are we alone in the universe? A Harvard astronomer theorizes it's possible we are not.
Avi Loeb, chair of the Harvard University Astronomy Department, said Oumuamua may be a fully operational probe sent intentionally to Earth vicinity by an alien civilization.
Loeb argued that Oumuamua might be artificial, like a piece of alien technology, maybe a light sail, maybe a probe, maybe debris from an advanced alien civilization. The media, of course, ran wild with it, bombarding the public with scary extraterrestrial headlines. And it was Harvard that lended credibility.
Harvard physicist.
This is something called appeal to authority, which is a logical fallacy where a claim is accepted as true simply because an authority figure or institution said it, rather than.
Now look, remember a minute ago, didn't I say the same exact thing right here? That just because you work at Harvard, you still got to show and prove too. I don't care if you got on a lab coat or the preacher robe. You still got to show and prove what you're saying.
On the strength of the evidence itself. If Loeb was just from some obscure community college in Ohio, the alien claims might not have had that much weight in the media. But this was Harvard.
Yeah, I should kill him, man. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Something like that. So, something like that. Look, every time you hear that door open, you like, oh man. Non-gravitational push. Yeah, I don't know how you're going to use that one though.
And Harvard is where smart people are. Loeb was smart, credentialed, and had a history of doing very serious work in astrophysics dating back to the 1980s. It's just that no one knew his name until he said, "Aliens?" ? And then he was everywhere. And while riding this viral wave of popularity, Loeb released a book for sale titled Extraterrestrial, The book became a New York Times bestseller and solidified Loeb as a popular national figure. But ultimately, scientists eventually figured out that Oumuamua was just a chunk of frozen ice from another solar system. Basically a giant space splinter that released tiny amounts of gas we couldn't see, like hydrogen. And it was this invisible gas that gave it slight pushes through space. Its strange shape was from just natural erosion. Its shiny brightness was just sunlight hitting its icy surfaces. Its tiny accelerations were normal for ice slowly evaporating in space. One Eye, Oumuamua, kept right on going, past us, left our solar system, and we will never see it again. Flash forward now from One Eye to Three Eye, and Avi Loeb once again is making viral headlines again after claiming another interstellar object again could be aliens. Again. So do any of Avi Loeb's alien claims have any legitimacy this time? Let's get into the actual science of it. Here are some of the supposed Three-Eye Atlas anomalies claimed by Loeb. Did Three-Eye Atlas pivot off its expected course? No, not really. While Three-Eye Atlas has slightly deviated from a path that might have been projected initially, those deviations are small, not dramatic steering maneuvers of a spaceship, and they are fully consistent with normal cometary physics. Remember the outgassing we talked about earlier? The sun heats up the comet's ice, which then turns into gas, and that gas jets out into space. These little jets of gas move the object slightly as it travels, but there is no confirmed evidence of any sudden, unexplained major pivot or turn that would support the claim of an alien spacecraft maneuvering itself with, say, alien engines. Avi Loeb argues that Three-Eye Atlas's sudden, unusually steep brightening might hint at something artificial or alien. NASA disagrees, saying the brightness changes are classic comet behavior due to CO2-driven gas jets, rotating dust clouds, and shifting sunlight angles. They both have the same scientific data, but Loeb sees a potential alien spaceship while NASA sees a normal comet doing normal comet things. As a comet approaches the sun, solar wind and solar radiation push a cloud of gas and dust away from the comet, forming two distinct tails, a straight tail made of charged gas and a curved dust tail. But comets sometimes have what's known as an anti-tail, meaning it's a tail that appears to be pointing towards the sun instead of away from it. This is normal, and it's just mostly an optical illusion. As the Earth moves towards the comet's curved dust trail, it can briefly look like a weird tail that's in front of the comet, or it could look like it has no tail at all. Avi Loeb suggested Three-Eye.
Did he just say as the Earth curves? He don't know how much beef he just started for himself right there. But I do wish it was a little bit more detail here. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that I doubt what he's saying, but I would like to know what is the degree of ice that has to evaporate, right, to move a rock, he said, the size of Manhattan. You know, that's just interesting. I would like to know that. You know what I mean? The other thing, right, is that this is something I've been this is a back and forth that I've had with several people, right? Where you see how they say, you know, space is empty, there's no atoms up there. But see that comment evaporating is showing and proving that it is atoms up there. Because what's happening with that stuff is it disappearing. Like if there's various, you know, pockets of air and clouds of dust up there, right? which that's what it's showing, which is saying said that something is evaporating, right? Then it has to be forming pockets of air. You know what I'm saying? And then if you got dust, right, you got particles. So no, space is not empty. You know, it's the atoms are much less dense. You know, densely packed together, that is. But space is not empty. I just felt like I just felt like gloating right there.
Atlas's anti-tail maybe was something unnatural or alien. But NASA and other scientists disagree that it's anything abnormal. Perihelion is the moment a comet swings closest to the sun. Avi Loeb called this the acid test for 3I Atlas. If it were artificial, say an alien spaceship, its brightness, color, and acceleration might show signs no normal comet could produce, like the ignition of alien thrusters or the release of technological alien probes. This was the big test, the moment the aliens might finally be revealed. But then, 3I Atlas entered perihelion, disappeared briefly behind the sun, re-emerged, and behaved like a normal comet. Loeb suspected something extraordinary, but the data came out rather ordinary. A NASA representative stated, quote, "We haven't seen any technosignatures." Technosignatures is the term used to refer to signs of extraterrestrial technology, or anything on it that would lead us to believe it's anything other than a comet. Okay.
Now, see what it is, right? Is you got to remember that there is a lot of people learn that space is a vacuum. And if you notice, right, that comes up in the flat earth argument. You know what I'm saying? That if we in a vacuum, then the vacuum should be sucking the water off the planet if it was, or the, you know, when, matter of fact, they say we in a dome because the vacuum would suck away all the air. It's various. I've heard all types of ridiculousness. You know what I'm saying? But it is people that think that.
So that's that, right? It's a comet. It's not coming anywhere near Earth. There are no signs it's sending alien probes to Earth. So what else is there at this point?
It's Elijah and Fire. What you mean? What else is there? See, this is the thing. This is, y'all are not y'all not considering all the possibilities. You know what I mean? You know, tell him, Brother Lowe.
I just calculated today that 3I Atlas gets near Jupiter if it wants to release some probes.
Okay, all right. So now Loeb.
Yeah, I said not for nothing. You see how the narrative works. Like when he was talking before, right? All the other times that I played Avi Lowe, he always sounded like he makes sense. But then after this character put the bad mouth on him, and now as soon as he started talking, he just sounds ridiculous. You see how that works?
Loeb has moved the goalpost a bit to now hypothesize that 3I Atlas's actual target for its potential alien probes maybe wasn't actually Earth, but is actually maybe possibly Jupiter, which it will come within 55 million miles of on March 16th, 2026. So it looks like, despite scientific evidence to the contrary, Loeb's alien claims regarding 3I Atlas are going to stay in the headlines for a while, much to the chagrin of other science professionals who have had it with Loeb's hijinks. Professor Dave, a chemistry scientist with a very popular YouTube science channel,
that's your man right there, son. That's your man right there, Professor Dave. Son. Hey, listen, I don't know if he want Professor Dave on his case, son. You remember what Professor Dave did to Lorenzo? Hey, look, he shot Abby right now, right? As soon as he finished, look, by the time he finished with him, you don't want to hear nothing from Abby no more, man. It's propaganda.
released a scathing video calling Loeb a fraud. And he pulls no punches.
Avi has published a lot of papers. He knows how to write and publish papers, so he has absolutely no excuse for this kind of behavior. He doesn't go through peer review because he knows his claims are utter garbage. He doesn't care. He's a fraud now. He wants hype and book sales.
Oxford University astrophysicist Chris Lintott said that Loeb's suggestion that 3I Atlas was alien or artificial is, quote, nonsense on stilts, and is an insult to the exciting work going on to understand this object. Steve Desch, an astrophysicist at Arizona State University, said, quote, people are sick of hearing about Avi Loeb's wild claims. It's polluting good science with ridiculous sensationalism. He later added that Loeb is making Harvard astronomer the scientific equivalent of Florida man. Speaking of Florida, Anna Paulina Luna, a congresswoman representing the Sunshine State, has championed Avi Loeb over the last year and mentioned Loeb and his claims in her official congressional letter to NASA, asking them to acquire and release more information on the mysterious 3I Atlas. Quote, thank you, Avi Loeb, for your continued dedication to exploring our universe. We must seize this opportunity for groundbreaking discovery. In response, NASA released more images of the comet and held a press conference re-emphasizing that 3I Atlas is just a comet.
This object is a comet. It looks and behaves like a comet and all evidence points to it being a comet.
The next.
Yeah, now you see what I'm saying, right? Now the dude from NASA, you ain't got that savoir faire. He ain't got that savoir faire like Avi Loeb. See what I'm saying? See, look, when you just see him, right? Like, yeah, nobody cares what you're saying. Avi Loeb already told us what it is. And see, that's how it is too. Like, you know, with these people that be like, Cuba is Egypt and all this stuff like that. That's how it is. We see they got personal magnetism. They got personality. But they talking straight crazy. Yeah, that's Professor Dave. That I can't even call. I don't know. What do you call that? What happened to Lorenzo? I don't even know. That was a lot of damage. Can't call it.
Today, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett posted on X, "That's no comet or meteorite." Burchett didn't offer any insights or evidence behind his statement. But there's some important context here that you should know about regarding where Burchett and Luna are getting their information. In May 2025, Burchett, Luna, and Missouri Congressman Eric Burleson, who have spent the last few years investigating UFOs in Congress, hosted their own little congressional meeting in Washington, D.C. about aliens and UFOs. All three have previously claimed, to some degree, that there is a UFO cover-up and the existence of aliens is being hidden from the public. These three congressional leaders brought in multiple UFO experts listened to speeches, and heard testimony. For example, one of the experts told
Yo, hold on, wait a minute. Is that what that's been about all this time? Because I never looked into that. I kept seeing news stories where they were saying that it was some congressional hearings about UFO cover-ups. That's what that was about? Like the one eye? Meaning the first interstellar object like this? Is that what that was about? Because I never even read not one of those stories.
them about the 4 different kinds of alien species that are currently visiting Earth: insectoids, reptilians, greys, and the tall whites. Another UFO expert presented a very striking photo of a flying saucer that
That's there's a couple of things like, so are those the 4 devils? Is it me? Or is it me? Because I mostly don't pay attention to this stuff. This is the first time I didn't know that it was 4 types of aliens. Like this is actually very informative. I don't know if it's informative in a good way.
later, embarrassingly, turned out to not be a flying saucer, but irrigation circles on the ground. Also part of this group was Avi Loeb, who gave a presentation about aliens and told the congressional leaders that he needed $1 billion to hunt for the aliens.
It's a win-win situation. We need to invest $1 billion.
During his speech, he mentioned his need for $1 billion over
$1 billion will go a long way.
and over
We should invest $1 billion.
and over again.
If I had $100 million or $1 billion, I know exactly what.
Ah, man, you done fucked it up, son. You done fucked it. See, now ah, man. See, now your new name is Abby Polite, man. Now- Yo, who's this guy, man, that's hosting this, man? Why you gonna crush our dreams like this? We up here thinking. Okay, that's it, man. Everybody unpack their bags. This guy's a charlatan, man. Oh, man. Have me there, man. You 10%.
What needs to be done?
$1 billion. If you're sitting there going, wait, this doesn't sound like science, this sounds like farcical nonsense, don't worry, it gets sillier.
That's the way science is done. We should stay curious. And I invited Kim Kardashian to join my research team on 3i Atlas.
Avi Loeb has invited reality TV star Kim Kardashian to join his research team after she expressed interest.
See how all this charlatan shit go together. See, now you need your goddess to go with y'all there. See all this pimping and pimping go together, say. Pimping and pimping go together. Abby. It's not right.
In 3i Atlas. NASA director Sean Duffy responded to Kardashian bluntly, saying that 3i Atlas is just a comet, not aliens, and poses no threat to Earth. Loeb countered and said NASA is essentially a party pooper, a Debbie Downer, saying the space agency is, quote, not really curious or imaginative about nature. So did a technological alien spacecraft just fly through our solar system? Absolutely not. 3I Atlas is a rare, ancient interstellar comet, a preserved time capsule from another star system, passing through our cosmic neighborhood for just a few brief months. It was kind of a cultural Rorschach test. NASA saw a comet, Avi Loeb saw aliens, and the media saw ad revenue. Pretty soon though, 3I Atlas will disappear back into deep space, and everyone will move on with their lives, just like we always do. That is, of course, until 4I appears. Avi Loeb will awake from his hibernation, and we will do this all over again.
Oh man. So hold on, y'all. We gotta check one thing here real quick. Y'all gotta bear with me because that presentation right there made me curious about the details on some particular science. This what is the big deal with this window? It's trying to get to so What is this? Let's do some video. See what this is about. Being in our born day, the idea of much of humanity's myth and religion stems from, among other things, early humans' observation of natural phenomena.
The Milky Way galaxy is an expansive giant, home to hundreds of billions of stars and at least 100 billion planets, many of which shine brightly in our own night sky. But there are others hiding in plain sight. If we gaze at the stars hard enough, we can even get lucky and catch a glimpse of the fleeting remnants of solar system bodies. What are these near-Earth objects? And could they have played a role in our evolution?
I look at these objects as tracers of the very earliest stages of planet formation in the solar system. We can study the planets and try to understand how they formed and evolved, but the planets are complicated bodies. They have weather and wind, they have water, they have plate tectonics in the case of the Earth, they have volcanism. All of these things act to erase and reset the surfaces of the planets, and that makes it very difficult to learn about how the Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago. In contrast, the asteroids are leftover fragments of the planet formation process and have been sitting out in the solar system for the past 4.5 billion years, relatively undisturbed. And so by studying these objects, we're really able to peer back into the past and understand what the conditions were like as planets were forming, both chemically and physically. So we have 600,000 of these things to study. We can't send spacecraft to all of them, but we can use telescopes here on Earth. For a long time, the traditional definition of an asteroid and a comet is that an asteroid's a rocky body and a comet's an icy body that shows activity, a coma, jets, a halo, those types of things that we associate with the comet. In the past 10 or 15 years or so, we've started to discover asteroids that, for whatever reason, all of a sudden turn on, just like a comet would. They start to show activity, they start to show evidence of outgassing, loss of volatiles, loss of dust, just like a comet. And we now think that there are quite a few processes probably responsible for taking some of these objects that we would have classified as asteroid and turning them into comets. Collisions is one possible way of making an asteroid look like a comet. If you have an asteroid and you collide a body onto its surface, that's going to kick up a big dust cloud. And as viewed from Earth, we will see an asteroid with a big dust cloud around it that looks just like a comet. They can be a hazard. I mean, we certainly know that near-Earth asteroids can and do hit the Earth. We have numerous pieces of evidence all over the Earth in the form of impact craters that, in some cases, very large objects have hit the Earth, and we think that there's a pretty good correlation between extinction events and impacts from asteroids and comets. Well, the most famous being the impact that potentially killed off the dinosaurs. We have evidence of that impact off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. But there are numerous others throughout history that we think correlate with extinction events that we see in the fossil record. With that said, though, those events are exceedingly rare. And they're so rare that I don't stay up at night worrying about the next killer asteroid coming along.
While impact events here on Earth are few and far between, parts of asteroids and comets have reached our planet in the form of meteorites.
There's a whole host of terminology associated with meteors. There's meteors, there's meteoroids, there's meteorites. Meteors come from a variety of sources. Some of them are particles that have been released by comets. Some of them are dust particles released by asteroids, generally formed through collisions. So when two asteroids collide, you produce a shower of fragments. Some of those fragments can make their way to the Earth. Before that passage through the atmosphere, you could refer to that particle or that rock as a meteoroid. If that meteor makes its way to the ground, then that is when it becomes a meteorite. Generally what happens with meteorites is that they will impact the atmosphere. And as that body passes through the atmosphere, it undergoes extreme heating and fragmentation events, and it fragments into many pieces, and those pieces get scattered all over what we would call a strewn field. Those pieces can range in size from little dust particles all the way up to large blocks, and the biggest meteorites in the world can be the size of rooms. In February of 2013, over Chelyabinsk, Russia, a modest-size meteoroid or asteroid hit the atmosphere, passed through the atmosphere as a meteor, actually blew up at a relatively high altitude and showered down fragments of that material onto the surface of the Earth. That was not predicted, and part of the reason for that is that it was a relatively small object, about 15 meters in size or so. Something that small is hard to detect with ground-based telescopes. But perhaps more importantly is that it approached from the direction of the sun. If something of that size is coming from the direction of the sun, we're not going to know about it ahead of time unless it's been discovered years previously. This amazing fireball, this streak of light, appeared in the sky. It left behind a vapor trail or a gas trail, and people ran to their windows to look at this. Several minutes after the fireball, the shock wave from that event made its way down to the surface, and that shock wave blew out windows all over this region in Russia. And it was the shattering of windows onto people's faces that were looking out the window that caused the greatest amount of injuries in that event. So it wasn't necessarily that there was a large impact crater and flash heating or anything like that. It was the shock of the fireball. This is actually a relatively small piece. The largest piece that was recovered was maybe half a meter in size. It was actually at the bottom of a lake. This is actually what we would refer to as an ordinary chondrite, which is, unsurprisingly, a fairly ordinary meteorite. It's the most common type of meteorite that falls on the Earth. About 80% of all meteorites fall into this category. Well, this meteorite itself formed about 4.5 billion years ago in the solar system and has been floating around in space since then. It probably lived part of its life on the surface of a main belt asteroid. At some point, that main belt asteroid was probably impacted and fragments were removed from that surface, and those fragments then made their way to Earth. It impacted and delivered the meteorites to the ground. So there's nothing terribly extraordinary about it, except for the fact that it has a very specific and very well documented impact event associated with it, which remote regions where people don't witness the falls, but this is the most documented impact in history. This is one of the more popular type of meteorites. It's called a palisite. This is a mix of gem quality peridot or olivine in a matrix of metal. And so it's a really striking, beautiful piece. And we think that something like this probably formed around the core mantle boundary of a large protoplanetary body. So just like the Earth has a core, a mantle, and a crust, we think planetary bodies out in the solar system, some of them may have undergone that similar differentiation process. And so this is a chunk of a core mantle boundary of one of these differentiated protoplanets. And obviously that protoplanet has been disrupted so that it has been collisionally fragmented into a piece that we have now collected as this meteorite. Many of them are cut into these slices so that you can see the sort of appearance and internal texture of the meteorite. The last piece here that I'll show is a fascinating meteorite. This is an iron meteorite. This is a slice of the iron meteorite. Its surface has been etched so that you can see this crystallized, interleaved pattern of crystals on the surface of it. This particular iron meteorite has the oldest date of any rock in the solar system, and that's 4.567 billion years old. And this rock was probably the first thing that formed in the solar, the first planetary body that formed in the solar system 4.5 billion years ago. And there's a really interesting history about how we think something like this could have formed so quickly. It requires very rapid accretion, so the body accreted very quickly. And because we're looking at an iron, this is a chunk of iron nickel metal, this is almost certainly the core of a differentiated body. So you're looking at rapid accretion and differentiation in the first few million years of solar system history, which is staggering to think that such complicated geologic processes were happening so early in the solar system. And it was those bodies that this meteorite represents that were the precursors to the Earth and the planets in the solar system. So it was objects like this that were colliding and sticking together that ultimately formed and built up the planets. So by studying these objects, we can understand the building blocks and the ingredients that went in to form the Earth and set up the conditions that makes the Earth habitable and sustainable for life.
Little science lesson right there he gave us. yeah, I became curious about the specific definition of meteors and comets and asteroids during the time that you know we once we found out about Abbey Loeb and his little scam over here. I guess that was the best part is that I now have specific definitions for meteors and asteroids. Like for instance, I didn't necessarily know that that a a a a comet is ice and the meteor is fire. I mean, I knew that, but just hearing that whole thing in one time. See, that's the thing about knowing 120. Like you learning, like how a lot of times it's like that. Where a person will present you an idea and you knew all of the facts in that idea, but you never put them together before. Because you learn them at different places and different times. But then when the person shows you how all those things fit together, then it's like somebody turning the lights on. But that's a whole science of how to draw that up. So yeah, man, I don't know, man, right now. I guess, like I said, we might as well unpack our bags. Yeah, that's probably it right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, maybe they hitting us with the 52 fake out. Maybe they hitting us with the 52 fake out where they letting everybody put their guard down. As soon as you get your guard down. Now look, that's crazy too, right? Because this is 2015 that this was made. But in 2017 was the first interstellar object that they saw. Yeah. The process of imagination and association too. You know what I'm saying? Like in that kind of way where, because imagination is kind of just, you can imagine, of course it's always gonna have some form in things that like we was talking about L. Ron Hubbard earlier, when you make up an alien, right? You're gonna you're gonna have the idea that they have eyes. You know what I'm saying? If we was cats, right, then we might have the idea that they have whiskers. Whereas association, at least in the way I'm talking about it right now, is more like, word association. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, the person is talking about a comment, and then you become curious about, the exact difference between a meteor and a comet. You know what I mean? And from that, it might pop in your head, when was the first space shuttle, whatever it is, but, kind of like sometimes that's the way I get caught up in a dictionary like that. The dictionary or an encyclopedia, where I might look up 25 words. That's just, I might see a word like, well, what's that word? I never saw that word before. Or it might be a word that I know, but I don't know Webster's dictionary definition. So I checked that out, you know. So yeah, I get caught up like that. Have you ever seen the Supreme Wisdom books that were published in the 1950s? Not the Supreme Wisdom of the Problem 13 and Lessons, but the ones that speak about the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm also done with the first book. It says nothing about the mothership or Mother Nature playing. Might be in the second volume though. Yeah, I can't really say which one is the one that I saw. I can't say like I've never looked at when it was published, and it's one of them things that's a little bit strange to hear. That Elijah Muhammad might have changed his teaching, but I mean, when was Message to the Black Man published? Because I'm fairly sure that was always. Well, I'm not gonna say I'm fairly sure, but yeah, some of the research. Look, call up the Muslim guys. See, you got to know how to use your resources. See, I'm from back in the days. I'm from back in the days with the card catalog in the Dewey Decimal System. You know what I'm saying? When you go in the library, they got to show you how to use it. So you say you got to use them. You got to use them as a tool. They a resource. At least they claim to be. We haven't. I haven't seen anyone ask them to show and prove their expertise in that either. Interesting, Divine King. Let us know how that research comes out. Whether or not, as you complete it, you could let us know if it's in that version. Well, in that edition, let's say. But that was that's been a historical issue in the NOI. You know what I'm saying? What exactly did Fuad teach? What exactly did he tell Elijah? Was one of the reasons that you saw War of Dean used. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's right and exact or not, I'm not commenting on that. I'm just saying that historically, War of Dean, he used the reason that, or one of his reasons that he asked his mother if Far ever taught that he was Allah. She said she never heard him say that. So that's what he said. She said. Yeah, you can send it to me. You know, they look, see, look, you gave the Muslim guys, uh, a great a great Christmas present right there. I mean, next time the Muslim guys do a post, go on their page, right, and say Merry Christmas. I gave Darkim Be Allah all the NOI catalog. He's right now. He's busy. He's busy studying. Look, you can tell him that. Look, y'all been trying for what 15, 20 years now. Cause y'all go all the way back. Listen, however long y'all been trying to get him to read all the rest of the what's the name? Yes, I did that in one day. They gonna be tight with you, son. They don't know, they don't know how to, they're not gonna know how to take that. Just don't send me no Scientology stuff. I don't want no Scientology stuff though. I'm good on I'm good on the Aleister Crowley stuff. Whatever it is, like, I only want pre-1975. 1930 to 1975. I don't know if you got it organized. I don't know if you got it organized like that. I want no war of things stuff. I want no Farrakhan stuff. But other than that, yeah, man, we might as well go ahead and take it down. You know, once again, we've been disappointed. The good ship Jesus didn't show up. You know, so you know, I guess it's not that bad though when you really look at it. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, we was on our own yesterday. You know what I'm saying? You know, Abby though gave us a little bit of hope. But you know, look, man, it's back to the realness, man. But with his I nah, send it to I didn't give you mine. I think I gave you mine. I think you emailed me something before. If not, hit me on the Instagram. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't know who's left out there. That's the other thing. Like I said, we in here. Right, I'm in here online. See, when I first came on, it was more people. So I don't know if they've been beamed up. I don't I don't know if we the last people left, but you know, by the time I take a nap right now and get back up, we'll see if anybody's left. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, between time, You know what I'm saying? We're gonna sign off. We're gonna sign off and say peace. You know what I'm saying? And Merry Christmas to the Muslim guys.